Hi, I'm Jeanette Benigas, the owner of FixSLP, and welcome to the Fixing the Coding Chaos series. This is installment number 3, and we're talking reimbursement in this one. If you haven't yet, please hit subscribe below. There are still thousands of speech-language pathologists who haven't found us yet, and growing this YouTube platform is one of the best ways we can do that right now. Let's get into it. Let's talk about the question everyone keeps asking. What happens to reimbursement when these changes go through? And the honest answer is there are still a lot of unknowns. Anyone pretending they can tell you exactly what reimbursement will be across setting and every payer is overstating what we know right now. We've heard that the national organization has told their state star reps what the reimbursement rates will be, but that's not accurate because CMS has to accept or deny and change their recommendations. They've stated that they'll help advocate for those amounts to go through, but let's be honest, the overutilization flag was probably initiated because they want to save money. So raising what they're going to pay speech pathologists seems a little unlikely, though it could happen. So let's talk about the process, the structure, and the likely downstream effects. First, will reimbursement rates go down? Possibly, but not automatically and not uniformly. A CPT code change by itself does not directly determine payment. The CPT Editorial Panel creates and revises the code structure and the descriptors. That's already been set. We know what those are, and they have been published in the RUC packet, which you can find at fixslp.com under the 92507 tab. The valuation recommendations made through the RUC, and then CMS ultimately determines Medicare payment. Medicaid programs and private insurers make their own decisions, but they do still have to use the codes because 92507 isn't going to exist anymore. People are asking about projected RVUs for the proposed codes. The educational documents circulating publicly have included draft valuation recommendations for different categories of speech-language treatment codes. Those proposed work RVUs vary depending on the type of service and whether an add-on code is used. But it's critical to understand those are recommendations, not finalized payment policies, and they do not include the NCCI edits, which you can learn about in the last video. Someone asked, how do these translate to dollars? And RVUs themselves are not dollars. So how do RVUs actually translate into payment? Generally speaking, reimbursement is calculated by taking the RVU and multiplying it by a conversion factor. Medicare uses its own annual conversion factor, and commercial insurers may use their own methodology. Medicaid programs vary dramatically from state to state, and there is no way for us to anticipate what they might do. Which leads us to another major question. How will Medicaid reimbursement be affected? The answer is it will vary significantly. Some Medicaid programs closely mirror Medicare structures. Others use their own fee schedules entirely. Some states adopt the changes quickly. Others may lag behind. Some may interpret therapy delivery requirements differently depending on how the descriptors are written. So yes, reimbursement could absolutely vary by state Medicaid program. Now, private insurance is even harder to predict. Some insurers adopt CPT changes rapidly, others delay implementation. Some carve speech therapy into proprietary payment systems. Some may revise prior authorization rules, session limits, or documentation expectations based on the new code structures. That uncertainty is exactly why so many clinicians are paying close attention now. Let's talk specifically about private practice. A lot of outpatient private practice models rely on longer integrated therapy sessions, often 45, 50, or 60 minutes, where clinicians address multiple communication domains together. We know that the structure is about to shift with these more narrow, timed codes with 30-minute base codes and 15-minute add-ons. So clinics are going to need to rethink scheduling, documentation, workflow, and even staffing models. Realistically, you would be scheduling a 30, 32, 48, or 64-minute session just because of the way codes can be combined. And if you missed that video, head back and watch video 1. This does not mean that every practice is going to automatically lose money. It does mean operational changes may become necessary though. So start thinking about these times and how you might do that creatively. Some clinics may shorten sessions. Some may split treatment domains differently. Some may redesign schedules and align more predictably with timed increments. And others might just absorb losses temporarily while trying to figure out how payers respond. And that's where the concern becomes bigger than just reimbursement. Because this isn't just about dollars, it's about clinical structure. What happens to the traditional 50 to 60 minute model if you're using that? What happens to the traditional 30-minute model if you're using that? And this is one of the biggest unresolved questions. Integrated care is incredibly common in speech-language pathology, especially in pediatrics, neurorehab, cognition, voice, and complex communication cases. Many clinicians don't treat communication in isolated silos or neat blocks of time. So, when the code structure encourages fragmentation, clinics may feel the pressure to reorganize treatment delivery in ways that do not reflect how clinicians have naturally practiced for decades. And finally, the question everybody wants answered: how much of a reimbursement cut should clinicians expect? Right now, nobody can responsibly give you a universal number. In fact, we could end up with more money. We just don't know. I will tell you this: the American Speech, Language, and Hearing Association immediately began to set the stage that lower reimbursement was going to be the fault of me, Jeanette, and FixSLP because of what we did in the AMA meeting. Because of what we did in the AMA meeting. I'm here to squash that right now. We didn't write the codes and we didn't change the codes. If the American Speech, Language, and Hearing Association was concerned about getting lower reimbursement for this code set, they should have thought about that before they proposed it at their AMA meeting. We didn't do this, they did. All right. Back to a universal number. The impact could differ based on payer mix, state Medicaid policies, private insurance contracts, documentation models, clinic workflow, session length, patient complexity, and whether add-on codes are allowed, recognized, or reimbursed consistently. A pediatric outpatient clinic in one state may experience something completely different than a hospital outpatient department in another. So the most accurate thing that I can say right now is this: there is legitimate concern about downstream reimbursement effects. There is significant uncertainty, and there are real operational questions clinics should already be thinking through, but final payment is not determined yet. That's why understanding this process matters so much, because on January 1st, when the code structure changes, those structural decisions can influence everything downstream: documentation requirements, payer policy, authorization rules, workflow expectations, productivity models, and eventually reimbursement itself. And that's exactly why we need you to pay attention. I hope you found this useful. If you have more questions, ask them in the comments below, and we'll see you next time.